The hotel room costs $900 a night. If you can't pay, leave. My father said this while I was still at the hospital, finishing a 14-hour shift as an emergency medical technician. His words came through the speakerphone with that cruel matter-of-factness I knew so well. It was about the family trip to Cancun. Mom, Dad, my sister Rebecca, and her husband, Tyler. A week at a 5-star resort, all-inclusive, obviously. You deserve it, he added, as if I wasn't part of you. As if I hadn't lent Rebecca $2,500 when Tyler lost his job last year. As if I hadn't paid for Dad's knee surgery when insurance denied coverage. My name is Brian, I'm 31 years old, and at that moment, wiping blood off my hands after saving a motorcyclist's life, I realized something I should have seen a long time ago. I wasn't a son, I was a personal bank account. It's okay, Dad. Have fun, I replied, forcing a smile he couldn't see. Great. It's settled then, he said, hanging up without even saying goodbye. But as I put my phone back in my uniform pocket, I felt it vibrate. A notification from the bank. For charges on my credit card. Cancun Resort. $900 each. 4 people. $3,600. It wasn't my name on the rooms. I opened the bank app and looked at the names. William M., Dad. Linda M., Mom. Rebecca T., my sister. Tyler T., brother-in-law. Brian M. Nowhere. They used my card to pay for a resort where I wasn't even invited. My hand didn't shake when I tapped dispute charge. Not even when I blocked the card. Years of being the responsible son taught me to stay calm when everything fell apart. 20 minutes later, Rebecca called me, hysterical, Brian. What did you do? Nothing has been paid here at the resort. Exactly what Dad said. If you can't pay, leave. The silence on the other end was delicious. But we're already here. And I'm here too. At the hospital. Saving lives. Alone. I hung up and for the first time in years, I smiled for real. It wasn't just about the money. It was about 6 years of being treated like the family ATM. The emergencies that turned into expensive gifts. The loans that turned into donations. The constant guilt for having a steady job while Tyler tried to start a business. But they didn't know one thing. While they treated me like an idiot, I documented everything. Every transfer, every loan, every broken promise. Spreadsheets organized by date, amount, and person. And if you're enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because what happened next completely changed the dynamics of my family. Because while they were stuck in Cancun with no money, discovering what it meant to not be able to pay, I was at home planning something none of them expected. Something that would turn the good son into the nightmare of those who abused his generosity. 3 hours later, my phone exploded. 47 missed calls. 23 text messages. 6 voicemails. Dad, Brian, what the hell did you do? We're stuck here. Mom, son, please be reasonable. We can talk when we get back. Rebecca, you're a psychopath. How could you do this to your own family? And Tyler, Tyler got right to the point, you piece of shit brother, you're going to pay for this. As I read the messages, I remembered how it all started. Tyler came into our family 3 years ago as the visionary entrepreneur who was going to revolutionize the supplement market. Rebecca was dazzled by his expensive suits and his motivational coach talk. The first loan was $500. It's just to cover the business registration, man. I'll pay you back next week when the investors close. Of course, they didn't close. The second was $1,200. I need a professional website, Brian. You understand technology, right? You know how important these things are. The third was $2,500 when he lost his sales job. In reality, he was fired for trying to scam customers, but Rebecca sold it as philosophical differences with management. Tyler had a knack for turning failures into heroic narratives. When his supplement company went bankrupt because he spent all the money on a BMW instead of products, he said he was pivoting to lifestyle consulting. When he lost his apartment because he hadn't paid rent in 4 months, he convinced Rebecca that living with the in-laws would strengthen family ties. And when Dad had his heart attack last year and needed surgery, Tyler was the first to suggest, Brian works in the medical field. He must have good health insurance. Can't he help out the family? I helped. Of course I helped. I paid $2,800 in expenses that Dad's insurance didn't cover. Tyler didn't even say thank you, just commented that it was the least a son could do. But the worst part wasn't the loans. It was the dynamic. I was treated like the unmarried brother with no responsibilities. As if working 60 hours a week saving lives was a hobby. As if my one-bedroom apartment and 7-year-old car were symbols of excessive wealth. Rebecca always compared us. Tyler is building an empire, Brian. You just work. Mom agreed, honey, you have stability. It's different. Tyler needs to take risks to grow. And Dad? Dad was more direct. Real men support their families. It doesn't matter if they're brothers, brothers-in-law, or nephews. Family is sacred. Sacred family who used my card without permission. I went back to my cell phone messages. Rebecca had sent a photo of the resort lobby, her and Tyler sitting in leather armchairs looking desperate. The caption read, "Because of you, we have no money for anything. Not even to eat." I laughed out loud. They had taken at least $3,000 in cash. I knew because Rebecca had posted stories on Instagram showing suitcases full of new clothes, all with expensive store tags. But Tyler was smart. In his messages, he started using his usual strategy. Emotional blackmail mixed with gaslighting. Brian, man, I understand you're angry. But think about your mother. She's crying. Literally crying. Is that what you want? To destroy the family over money? Then came the tempting offer, look, when I close the deal on the Asai franchise next month, I'll pay you back with interest. You have my word as a man. And finally, the subtle threat, you know how it is, family is all we have. It would be sad if little things destroyed eternal bonds. Little things. $3,600 was little things. Meanwhile, I ate instant noodles for dinner because I was saving up to replace the tires on my car. But there was one thing Tyler didn't know. During those 3 years of being treated like a human ATM, I developed a hobby, obsessive documentation. Every bank transfer. Every broken promise. Every emergency that turned into an expensive gift. Every time I was called selfish for hesitating to lend money. I had spreadsheets, screenshots, emails, call recordings, legal in my state. A complete dossier of my own exploitation. Even the jewelry Tyler bought Rebecca for Valentine's Day using the money he borrowed from me for marketing materials. Even the weekend in Las Vegas, they financed with Dad's medical emergency money. Even screenshots of the family group chat where they planned the trip to Cancun and discussed using my card because Brian won't even know until we get back. Oh, I knew. I always knew. Now they were stuck in another country, without access to my money for the first time in years. And for the first time in years, I felt free. But the real fun hadn't even started yet. Because while they were freaking out in the lobby of a Mexican resort, I was here organizing something that would change everything forever. Something that would turn the bank account son into a nightmare for anyone who thought generosity was synonymous with stupidity. The next morning, I woke up to 52 missed calls. My cell phone had vibrated all night like a broken alarm clock. Mom had left 7 tearful voicemails. Rebecca sent 16 messages alternating between pleas and threats. Dad sent just one, "You'll pay for this, kid." But the best was from Tyler, "Brian, man, cut the crap. We're grown men. Work it out." Grown men who stole my credit card. I ate my breakfast, toast with butter, no 5-star resort, while listening to my voicemails on speakerphone. Mom's voice cracked between forced tears and genuine outrage. "Brian, honey, I don't understand what's gotten into you. We paid for your college. We raised you with love. And now you abandon us like this? In another country? Your father is having heart problems because of the stress you've caused him." I paused the recording. They paid for my college? I worked as a night security guard for 4 years to pay for my tuition. They paid exactly $0 toward my education. But that had always been the family narrative. Everything I achieved was with their help. I kept listening. Mom's voice grew harsher. Rebecca is having anxiety attacks. Tyler is trying to borrow money from Mexican loan sharks. You know how dangerous those people are. Ah, now Tyler was dealing with loan sharks. Perfect. Maybe they'd collect the interest he never paid me. But it was Rebecca's last message that made me stop chewing altogether. Brian, you've destroyed our family. Mom's in the hospital. Dad's had another heart episode. Tyler's desperate to get money to get us back. All because of your childish tantrum. I hope you feel good about yourself. Hospitals don't work like that in Mexico. If Mom was really in the hospital, they would have had to pay up front. Rebecca was lying, as usual. But the mention of Dad's heart attack bothered me. Not because I believed it, but because it showed how far they were willing to go with emotional manipulation. That's when my neighbor, Marcus, knocked on the door. Marcus had been an insurance investigator for 20 years. A meticulous man, retired from the police force, he had lived alone since his wife died. We were casual friends, he fixed my plumbing, I helped with her groceries when she had the flu. Brian, man, is everything okay? I heard a lot of noise last night. I quickly explained the situation. Marcus listened silently, shaking his head. Son, I've been working in fraud for 2 decades. What your family did is a federal crime. Unauthorized use of a credit card with a value of over $1,000 in international territory. I knew that, but hearing it from an expert made it all the more real. Want some advice? Marcus continued. Document everything. Every text, every phone call, every threat. Because if they're willing to use your card without permission, they won't stop there. As if he had a premonition, my phone rang. Unknown number. Brian? It was Tyler, obviously using a borrowed phone. Man, we need to talk like adults. Go ahead, Tyler. Look, I understand you're angry. But you know Rebecca. She just wanted this to be a perfect family trip. She didn't mean any harm. Using my card without permission wasn't harmful. It was poorly planned, I admit. But man, we're in a bad situation here. The hotel is charging extra fees. The food is overpriced. Your father is really sick. Tyler knew exactly which buttons to push. Family. Medical emergency. Guilt. How much do you guys need to get back? $2,000 would take care of everything. I'll pay you back next week when I close the deal on the Asai franchise. The Asai franchise. Tyler had been talking about this mysterious franchise for 8 months. It was always going to close next week. Tyler, you said the same thing about the supplement business. And the lifestyle consulting. And the magnetic bracelet dropshipping. This one's different, man. I've got serious investors. Silicon Valley people. Silicon Valley people investing in an Asai franchise. Sure. I'm not sending any money, Tyler. Brian, think about your mother. You're lying about the hospital, right? Because Mexican hospitals don't operate on credit. Silence. How do you know that? Tyler asked, his voice changing tone. Because I work in the medical field, you idiot. And because you always lie when you want money. Look here, you. I hung up. Marcus was still in my office, drinking coffee and taking notes on a notepad. This guy is a professional manipulator, he said. He tested 3 different strategies in a 5-minute conversation. Family guilt, medical emergency, financial promise. Textbook. That's when I made a decision that would change everything. Marcus, can you help me investigate Tyler? Professionally. He raised an eyebrow. Why? Because if he's lying about being stuck in Mexico with no money, he's probably lying about other things too. Marcus smiled. The smile of an investigator who has just found an interesting case. Son, give me his full name and 2 hours. I'll find out what color underwear he's wearing. While Marcus worked, I organized my own evidence. Not just the unpaid loans, but a broader pattern of behavior. Tyler had never held a job for more than 8 months. He was always fired due to philosophical differences, or company restructuring. In fact, I later discovered he was fired for trying to sell pirated products to customers. His companies never officially existed. No business license, no tax records, no legal documentation. They were schemes to impress Rebecca and justify not working. The Silicon Valley investors were 2 guys he met at a bar in San Jose, who never responded to his messages again. But what I discovered that afternoon left me genuinely shocked. Tyler had been married to Rebecca for 3 years. During that time, they lived in their own house for 4 months, in a rented apartment for 8 months, and the rest of the time at my parents' house or in my apartment temporarily. I did the math. They lived off their families for 70% of their marriage. What's more, Tyler owed money not only to me, but to at least 6 other people. College classmates, former coworkers, even a second cousin in Texas. He was a serial deadbeat. Marcus returned with a folder of documents that made my jaw drop. "Brian, your brother-in-law is a work of art. Bounced checks, maxed out credit cards, 2 businesses shut down for labor violations. Oh, and he's not in jail in Mexico." "What do you mean?" "He posted a photo on Instagram 2 hours ago. He's at a marina in Cancun, drinking margaritas." Marcus showed me his phone. There was Tyler, smiling at a restaurant table overlooking the ocean. The caption, "Enjoying tropical paradise. #blessed, #vacation, #living my best life." They weren't broke. They weren't desperate. They weren't eating poorly or dealing with loan sharks. They were on vacation with my money, lying about being in trouble to get more. That's when the anger really kicked in. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about dignity. For 3 years, I had been the understanding brother who helped out the family in emergencies. But there were no emergencies. There was a parasite named Tyler who turned my generosity into passive income. And now they were in a Mexican marina laughing in my face while pretending to be destitute. Marcus closed the folder and looked at me directly. "Son, I can sue this guy for you. I have contacts in the FBI who specialize in international financial fraud. Unauthorized use of a credit card, conspiracy, wire fraud. He could get up to 5 years in prison." 5 years. Tyler in prison, Rebecca destroyed, my parents publicly humiliated. But jail was too fast. Too impersonal. "No, Marcus. I have a better idea." "What is it?" "I'm going to give them exactly what they deserve. And I'm going to make it unforgettable." That night, I started writing. Not a lawsuit, but something much more devastating. A complete chronology of Tyler's financial life, including all the evidence Marcus had collected, all the loans I had documented, and all the patterns of behavior we had identified. But it wasn't for a court. It was for a much wider audience. Tyler always said he was a digital entrepreneur. That he understood marketing and social media. Well, he was about to find out how viral marketing works in practice. Because while he was posting pictures of margaritas with my money, I was building something that would turn his life into a public lesson on the consequences of treating family like a personal ATM. Marcus and I spent the rest of the night planning. Not emotional revenge, but something surgical. He had experience with investigations that ruined entire careers. I had obsessive documentation and intimate knowledge of my family's weaknesses. Tyler presents himself as a social media entrepreneur, right? Marcus asked, typing on his laptop. Constantly. Always posting about millionaire mindset and financial freedom. Perfect. Let's give him exactly that. Total financial transparency. Marcus showed me the screen. He had created a simple website, tylertruthcheck.com. Digital documentary, he explained. A complete timeline of his financial life. Every failed business, every bounced check, every person he's ripped off. All with evidence. But that was just the beginning. "Brian, you said he always promises Silicon Valley investors, right?" "All the time. He says he has meetings with important CEOs." Marcus smiled like a predator. "How about introducing him to some real CEOs?" The idea was diabolical. Marcus had contacts at tech companies, people who investigated corporate fraud. They would love to meet someone using their names to run scams. Meanwhile, Tyler kept posting from Mexico. New photo, him and Rebecca at an expensive Japanese restaurant. Caption, investing in experiences. Success is about quality of life. #entrepreneur life, #blessed. With my money. He has no idea what's coming, I muttered. Son, men like Tyler live in a bubble of arrogance. They think everyone else is stupid. They never imagine that someone could be smarter than them. Marcus was right. Tyler saw me as the nerdy brother who worked for a steady paycheck. Someone incapable of thinking strategically. Fatal mistake. Over the next week, we implemented Phase 1. Marcus sent Tyler's complete file to 3 collection agencies that pursued people with unpaid debts. Legitimate companies, but aggressive. At the same time, I started contacting every person Tyler had stiffed. It wasn't hard. Marcus had a complete list. "Hi Jake. This is Brian, Tyler's brother-in-law. I heard he owes you money." "Melissa? About that $1,200 Tyler borrowed." One by one, people confirmed it. Tyler owed money to 17 different people. Total, $14,300. I created a WhatsApp group, Friends of Tyler Financial Recovery. If you're following this story and enjoying seeing how meticulous planning trumps manipulation, don't forget to subscribe to the channel because there are many more twists and turns to come. While Tyler was posting photos of infinity pools, I was organizing an army of creditors. But the most brilliant part of the plan was yet to come. Tyler always said that networking was everything, and that he knew important people. Well, I was going to give him the networking of his life. Marcus had a friend named David Chun, a former FBI investigator specializing in financial crimes. David now worked as a consultant for Silicon Valley companies, investigating people who used CEO names to run scams. Does Tyler use specific names? David asked during our video call. He always talks about having meetings with Elon Musk and Tim Cook. He says he knows the CEO of Microsoft personally. David laughed. Perfect. Those guys have legal teams that love to sue people like that. It's a matter of brand protection. The trap was set. Tyler would be back from Mexico in 4 days, expecting to find his normal life waiting for him. A submissive brother who would forgive everything, parents who would pretend nothing had happened, Rebecca who would continue to justify his lies. Instead, he would find 17 people coordinating debt collection, 3 collection agencies investigating his assets, a website documenting every fraud he had ever committed, and federal investigators interested in his connections in Silicon Valley. But best of all, he would never know it came from me. To the world, I would remain the understanding brother trying to help his family. The storm in Tyler's life would seem like cosmic coincidence. The night before they returned, I received a message from Rebecca. "Brian, will you forgive us? Tyler admits he overreacted. We want to make it up to you when we get back." I replied, "Of course, family is family. I can't wait to talk to you all." I wasn't lying. I couldn't wait. Because while Tyler thought he was coming home a conqueror, he was actually walking straight into the eye of a hurricane I had personally engineered. A hurricane that would turn the manipulator into a victim of his own arrogance. And the best part? When it all came crashing down, I would be there to offer support as the loving brother I had always been. The brother who would never, ever do something like this on purpose. Tyler returned from Mexico on a Thursday morning. I knew because Rebecca posted a photo on Instagram, the two of them at the Miami airport, smiling like conquerors returning from a victorious campaign. The caption read, "Back and refreshed. Ready for new projects. #blessed #family. With my money, obviously. But what they didn't know was that while they were tanning on Mexican beaches, I had turned Tyler's life into a minefield. The first explosion happened before he even got home. Marcus called me at 9 in the morning. "Brian, Phase 1 implemented. Tyler tried to use his credit card on an Uber from the airport. Denied. Tried to withdraw cash from an ATM. Account blocked for suspicious activity." That's what happens when 17 different people report the same person for unpaid debts on the same day. Bank algorithms interpret it as mass fraud. The second explosion came an hour later. Tyler called me, his voice tense. "Brian man, something's wrong with my cards. Can you pick me up at the airport?" "Sure, Tyler. Family's family." When I arrived at the airport, he was sitting on the sidewalk with 3 suitcases, Rebecca beside him typing furiously on her cell phone. "What the hell is going on?" Tyler asked as soon as he got in the car. "My cards don't work, my account is blocked, and Rebecca got calls from 3 people demanding payment for debts I don't even remember." "That's strange," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. "Maybe it's a system problem." A system doesn't explain Jake calling me demanding $1,500 from 2 years ago. Or Melissa wanting the $1,200 she lent me for my supplement business. Rebecca was quiet in the back seat, still typing. How many people called you? I asked casually. 11 so far. Tyler exploded. All demanding old money. Like they got together. Because they did, Tyler. In the WhatsApp group I created. But the third explosion was the best. When we got to my parents' house, Dad was in the garage with a look on his face I hadn't seen in years. The look of someone who had just discovered something devastating. Tyler, Dad said, his voice cold. I need to talk to you. Sure, Mr. Morrison. About what? Dad opened his laptop and turned the screen toward Tyler. It was the website Marcus had created, TylerTruthCheck.com. Explain this. Tyler went white. On the screen, his smiling photo was next to a headline, Tyler Thompson, Complete Chronology of Financial Fraud. Below were 17 detailed sections. Every person he had ripped off. Every company he'd bankrupted. Every lie about phantom investors. All with documentation. Screenshots. Photos. Video testimonials. Where did you get this? Tyler stammered. Someone sent it anonymously, Dad replied. Not just to me. To the whole family. To his former co-workers. To people at church. Rebecca ran back into the house. Tyler looked at me desperately. Brian, man, you have to help me. Someone is trying to destroy me. That's terrible, I agreed. Who would do such a thing? But the fourth explosion was the last straw. My cell phone rang. It was David Chun. Brian? David here. Can you talk in front of him? Sure. David turned on speakerphone. Tyler Thompson? Yes. This is David Chun, security consultant for Silicon Valley companies. I've received information that you're using CEO names to run financial scams. Tyler almost fainted. I never. Elon Musk, Tim Cook, Satya Nadella. All names you claim to know personally to convince people to invest in your schemes. This is a misunderstanding. No, it's not. I have recordings, Tyler. And documents. And witnesses. Tyler looked at me, then at Dad, then at the phone. I'm sending this dossier to the FBI this afternoon. Using someone else's identity for financial fraud is a federal crime. He hung up. The silence that followed was glorious. Tyler was destroyed. Dad looked at him like he was a stranger. Mom had left the house to visit her sister, her classic escape when things got tense. That's when Tyler finally understood. Wait, he said, looking at me with growing suspicion. You're very calm for someone who just found out all this. I'm shocked, I lied blatantly. No. You're not. Tyler moved closer. You knew. You fucking bastard. It was you. Dad raised an eyebrow. Tyler, you're being paranoid. No. Tyler shouted. People calling me at the same time. The website appearing out of nowhere. The FBI contacting me the moment I got back from my trip. This isn't a coincidence. He was right, obviously. Son of a bitch, Tyler growled. You orchestrated all of this. That's when I let the mask slip. Orchestrated? I asked, smiling for the first time in weeks. Tyler, I just documented it. Every person you've ripped off exists. Every company you've bankrupted is real. Every lie about CEOs is on tape. You sabotaged me. Sabotaged. I laughed loudly. Tyler, you sabotaged yourself. I just organized the evidence chronologically. Dad was watching our conversation like a tennis match. 3 years, I continued, my voice rising. 3 years of being your personal bank. Paying your bills, covering your lies, listening to your false promises. I always wanted to pay you back. With what money, Tyler? You never had any money. Your only source of income was ripping off people who trusted you. Tyler tried to approach, but Dad stepped between us. And the worst part, I said, is that you used my card to pay for a trip I wasn't even invited to. And then you lied about being stuck in Mexico to get more money. Dad turned to Tyler. You lied about being stuck? Tyler tried to explain, but I was already showing him his Instagram. The photos at the marina. The Japanese restaurant. The expensive drinks. While you were sending messages saying you didn't have money for food, I explained, Tyler was posting photos of himself drinking $20 margaritas. Dad's face changed completely. "Get out of my house," he said to Tyler. "Mr. Morrison, I can explain." "Get out of my house." Tyler ran out. Dad and I were left alone in the garage. "Son," he said after a long silence, "did you do all this?" "I did." "Why didn't you tell me before?" "Because you would never have believed me." Tyler was always the charismatic son-in-law with big dreams. I was just the son who worked too hard and complained about money. Dad nodded slowly. "How many people did he rip off?" 17 that I could find. Probably more. "What about the FBI?" "They're actually investigating. Using CEO names for fraud is serious." Dad sat down in a garden chair. "You know Rebecca is going to hate you forever, right?" "She already hated me. Now at least she has a real reason." He laughed. A tired but proud laugh. "You've grown up, Brian." It took a while, but yes. At that moment, my cell phone rang. "Marcus. Brian, you need to see this. Tyler just posted on Instagram." I opened the app. Tyler had posted a photo of himself crying in his car. The caption read, "Family is everything until they find out who you really are. Betrayed by my own brother-in-law. The truth always comes out, but the hurt stays forever." Comments were already starting to appear. People who recognized Tyler from the website tylertruthcheck.com. "Dude, you owe my cousin $800. This is the supplement scammer. The FBI should arrest people like this." I showed it to Dad. He shook his head. Even at the end, he tries to be the victim. "That's what manipulators do," I replied. "When they can't control the narrative anymore, they play the victim." But Tyler didn't know I had saved the best part for last. Because while he was crying on Instagram, Marcus was implementing the final phase of the plan. The part that would turn his attempt to play the victim into the biggest mistake of his life. The part that would prove, once and for all, who the real villain of this story was. The final phase of the plan unfolded like a perfectly orchestrated symphony. Tyler tried to use Instagram to control the narrative, posting about family betrayal and jealous brothers-in-law. But Marcus had anticipated this. Within 2 hours, every person Tyler had ever stiffed had commented on his post. With screenshots. With documents. With detailed stories of how he had lied to each of them. "This is the guy who's owed me $1,200 for 3 years. Scammer. Promised to pay me when he closed the Asai deal. I know 6 people he's ripped off. The FBI should investigate." Tyler deleted the post, but Marcus had captured everything and reposted it on tylertruthcheck.com with the headline, "Manipulator tries to play victim after being exposed." But the real devastation came 3 days later. David Chin called during my shift. "Brian, Tyler tried to escape the FBI investigation by claiming he never used specific CEO names. And the problem is that Marcus recorded him at a party 2 months ago, drunk, telling a whole group of people how he had lunch with Elon Musk last week, and how Tim Cook personally called to congratulate him on a project." I stopped breathing. "You have this on tape?" "In 4K video. With crystal clear audio. Marcus filmed it because he thought it was funny at the time." Tyler didn't just use CEO names to impress people. He did it publicly, creating witnesses. What happens now? The FBI has opened a formal investigation. Wire fraud, identity misrepresentation, conspiracy to defraud. He could get 5 to 15 years. 15 years. I hung up and stood in the hospital hallway, processing. Tyler had gone from parasitic brother-in-law to federal criminal suspect in less than a week. But the consequences spread beyond him. Rebecca tried to call me 43 times that day. When I finally answered, she was crying. "Brian, you have to stop this. Tyler is having panic attacks. He can't leave the house because people recognize him on the street." Recognize him? "The website you guys created is showing up on Google when you search his name. Employers are seeing it. He can't get a job." Tyler had become unemployable. Any background check would reveal the full dossier of his fraud. "Rebecca, he did all this himself. I just documented it. You orchestrated it. You planned to destroy my family. Your family destroyed me first. For 3 years. She hung up. But 2 hours later, Dad showed up at the hospital. I came to apologize, he said, without beating around the bush. We went out to the employee courtyard. He was visibly shaken. Son, your mother and I were blind. Tyler manipulated us as much as he manipulated you. What do you mean? He didn't just use your card. He used ours too. And Rebecca's. And he has a credit card in your mother's name, which she signed thinking it was for family emergencies. My eyes widened. We found out when the bills started coming in. $22,000 in debt we didn't incur. Luxury cars rented. Expensive restaurants. Even a $5,000 Rolex watch. Tyler had stolen from the entire family, not just me. Dad, are you going to report him? We already did. Yesterday. Your mother cried all day, but we had no choice. The net was closing in. The FBI, state police, and now Tyler's own family was pursuing him legally. What about Rebecca? She's filing for divorce. Last night. She said she didn't know anything, but she can't trust him anymore. Tyler's family had completely imploded. But the change in me was even more profound. I went home that night and for the first time in years, I looked at myself in the mirror. I really looked at myself. I no longer saw the submissive brother who worked 60 hours a week to pay for other people's dreams. I saw a man who had learned to stand up for himself without becoming cruel. Marcus was in my office, organizing the last few documents. How do you feel? He asked. Free. And it was true. 3 years of weight had been lifted off my shoulders. Is Tyler going to jail? Probably. With all the evidence we gathered, plus the new charges from the family, he's looking at least 5 years. 5 years to reflect on the consequences of treating family as passive income. 2 weeks later, I got an unexpected call. Brian? This is Dr. Patricia Wells from Metropolitan Hospital. I knew the Metropolitan. An elite hospital where famous doctors operated on celebrities. We've heard about your experience organizing complex medical documentation. We'd like to offer you a position as an emergency coordinator. Starting salary $75,000, plus benefits. $75,000. $20,000 more than my current salary. How did you hear about my experience? An investigator named Marcus gave us your contact information. He said you had exceptional analytical skills. Marcus had got me my dream job without me even knowing it. 3 months later, Tyler was formally indicted. Rebecca moved to Arizona, far away from everything. Mom and Dad went to couples therapy to rebuild their trust after Tyler's lies. Me? I bought a bigger apartment. New modern, with a view of the city. On moving day, I found a letter I had forgotten. It was from Tyler, written from the jail where he was awaiting trial. Brian, I know you'll never forgive me. But I want you to know that deep down, I always knew you were better than me. More honest, harder working, more reliable. I turned that into a weakness to exploit, but it was actually your strength. I hope that someday you find people who value who you are, instead of exploiting your kindness. I folded the letter and threw it in the trash. It had taken Tyler 5 years to learn a lesson that I mastered in a week. People who respect you don't need to steal from you. 6 months after the indictment, Tyler accepted a plea bargain. 3 years in prison, full restitution of all stolen funds, and 5 years of probation. On the day of his sentencing, he saw me in the courtroom hallway. Brian, he whispered. I turned around. Thank you. For what? For stopping me before I hurt more people. It was the only genuine thing Tyler said to me in 3 years. Today, 2 years later, I'm a supervisor in the emergency department at Metropolitan. I have a team of 12 people, a salary of $90,000, and an apartment that's all mine. Tyler gets out of prison next year. I hear he's taking basic computer classes and financial addiction therapy. Rebecca married an accountant in Arizona. A simple, honest man who works 9 to 5 and never asks to borrow money. Mom and Dad are selling the house and moving to a retirement community in Florida. No debt, no deadbeats, just the two of them rebuilding their lives after decades of being taken advantage of. And me? I learned that family isn't about blood or obligations. It's about mutual respect. A real family doesn't have to steal from you to survive. It doesn't manipulate your generosity. It doesn't turn your kindness into weakness. If you've made it this far and this story has touched your heart, subscribe to our channel because we have dozens of stories like this one. Ordinary people who found the strength to stand up to those who tried to destroy them. Because in the end, Tyler tried to break me, but he only made me realize how much stronger I was than I ever imagined. The last time I saw Tyler, he was in court, handcuffed, begging the judge for mercy. I was in the front row, wearing a new suit, with a job at the best hospital in town and the keys to my own apartment in my pocket. I didn't feel sorry for him. I didn't feel angry. I just felt the quiet satisfaction of someone who had finally learned that being good doesn't mean being a fool. And Tyler? Well, he finally found out that there are consequences for confusing generosity with stupidity.